All right, let's get right into it. We have all been there, staring at a screen, needing to send a tough email or message, and you're just completely stuck. Today, we're going to break down a really smart system for handling exactly that, using a workflow called the bad news stack. I mean, does this feel familiar or what? That blinking cursor, it feels like it's mocking you, right? You type a sentence, you delete it. You rephrase it, and then you delete that too. You're trying to walk this tightrope of being firm but not mean, clear but not cold. It's totally exhausting. You know, there's actually a name for this feeling. It's called emotional labor. It's all that mental energy we burn through trying to manage not just the facts, but all the feelings surrounding the message. And what's the usual outcome? A ton of wasted time, a lot of stress, and, let's be honest, often a watered-down message that doesn't even get the point across. So how do we fix this? Well, the key is to change our entire approach. We've got to stop trying to do two totally different things at once. Instead, we need to start thinking like a surgeon. Okay, so think about it. What makes a great surgeon? It's this incredible separation of duties. They use a scalpel with cold, precise logic to fix the problem. That's one job. Then, completely separately, they use a warm, empathetic bedside manner to communicate with the family. You would never want them to mix those two things up, right? Getting emotional during the operation or being cold and robotic in the waiting room, that would be a disaster. The exact same rule applies to our communication. And this is where our tool comes into play. The bad news stack is a workflow that basically forces you to make that separation. It lets you first nail down the unvarnished truth, the pure logic, and only then, as a totally separate step, do you wrap it in the right tone for the delivery. Okay, so that's the big idea. But how does it actually work? Let's walk through the simple three-step protocol that puts you back in the driver's seat and lets you outsource all that emotional heavy lifting. The whole thing really just boils down to these three simple phases. First, you've got the cold truth. This is just about getting the facts out. Second is the wrapper, which is where we tailor the message for our audience. And finally, the review, just a quick sanity check at the end. It really is that straightforward. So let's break each one down. All right, step one is all about the scalpel. Your one and only job here is to get the cold, hard facts out of your head and onto the page. Don't worry about phrasing, don't worry about tone, don't worry about anyone's feelings. Just state the facts. I like to call it a vomit draft. It's blunt, it's direct, and it's for your eyes only. Now for step two. This is where we bring in the bedside manner. We use AI to apply that social and emotional layer. You take your cold truth and you feed it to an AI using a really simple command, a core building block called the adapt primitive. You just tell it who the message is for, what rules to follow, like maybe don't apologize, and exactly what kind of tone you want to set. And this right here is where the magic really happens. Let's look at a concrete example so you can see just how powerful this transformation from raw facts to professional communication really is. Okay, so here's our vomit draft. It's brutally honest, isn't it? I mean, it's factually correct, but you would probably never, ever send this to a client. It's just too aggressive, too unprofessional. This is our pure, unvarnished truth. And boom, check this out. Look at the output after we run it through that adapt primitive. The facts are 100% identical, the bill is unpaid, the server is off, and payment will turn it back on. But the delivery is completely transformed. It's professional, it's firm, and it's clear, all without being aggressive. And the best part? Zero emotional labor required from you. Okay, this is super important though. It brings up a really critical question. When you're wrapping the truth in a nicer tone, are you in danger of accidentally changing the facts themselves? So here's the deal. It shouldn't, but you have to be smart about it. This is exactly why those constraints are so crucial. You can literally tell the AI, preserve the core deadline, or do not apologize. And for extra security, you can even run a final check, almost like asking the AI, hey, did you change any of the core facts? Just to verify that the final message perfectly matches your original cold input. This workflow is incredibly powerful for all that day-to-day professional stuff. But what about the really, really heavy news? Can you, or maybe more importantly, should you, use this for something as sensitive as a layoff? And the answer is a hard no. You just don't. This system is a tool for preparation, not a replacement for human connection. For those truly critical moments, you can absolutely use the bad news stack to draft your talking points to make sure you're clear and you don't stumble. But the delivery, that has to be human, every single time. So as we wrap up here, what's the one big principle that ties this entire process together? It all comes down to this: separate fact from feeling. Your first job is always the logic, the cold truth. Only after that's done do you even start to think about the tone. Like we said, you don't do surgery with Bedside Manner. Second thing to remember is the tool itself. That adapt primitive, that is your switch. That's how you consciously and deliberately apply that wrapper of tone and professionalism to your cold, hard facts. And finally, here's a super simple way to think about it. The tone is just the bread. It makes the message easier to swallow. But your most important job is to protect the meat inside, which is the unchangeable truth of the situation. So, by separating logic from delivery, you've built a really solid system for communicating. You've mastered the workflow to handle tough news without all the stress. But what happens when the system itself is at risk? How do you build in the safety checks to make sure you and your projects never crash? We'll dig into that next time. If you want to dive deeper into building these kinds of robust systems for thinking, you can find all the simplified technical programming foundations source material over on Gumroad. Thanks for tuning into this explainer.